Hey, greetings all. I'm doing a video review for a YouTuber that asked me if I could do one, and I agreed, so I'm doing that now for you. And what we are going to be reviewing is the Nintendo DSi system. When I got this request, I started thinking about how would I start with this? How would I go into reviewing this system? And the best way to look at it in the sense of reviewing wise would be look at the 4 systems that they have out, or however many systems they have out at this point. I believe it's 4 though. And see what would make that person get that system. That's my question to you. What would make you want the system? Or what are your specific needs? Because this is almost like a computer in a sense. It's a very, very simplistic basic computer in a sense of buying one. I mean, not using wise. I mean, in a sense, yeah, but that's a whole other story. So anyway, what would you be looking for out of it? Because you have the DS, you have the DS Lite, you have the DSi, you have the DSi XL, you have the 3DS, you have the 3DS XL now, I guess. What are you looking for is pretty much it. How much do you have to spend on it? That's another important factor. That's, to a lot of people, that's the most important factor. Not everyone, but obviously a lot of people. So let's go down the list and everything of, once you kind of get in your head an idea of what you're looking for. And what I mean by what you're looking for, are you looking more at the tech specs of it? Do you want to know what the newest features are on this? Or is gaming more important? You go, I had a Game Boy Color for a while, then I went to a Game Boy Advance, and now I'm looking for something with a touchscreen. I like the newer games, but every once in a while I like to pop in a Game Boy Advance game. So that's in a sense what I mean. Or do you want just the specs of it? You go, well, I like to play the occasional game. I don't really have too many games to play, but I also like the ability that has cameras on it. Every once in a while I like to just mess around with some stuff on there. I mean, that's pretty much it. So with something like that, once you get an idea of what you're looking for it to do, out of, like, in a sense, what I gave you, then it helps you narrow down to what system's going to be best for you. So with something like this, you're looking at, we have the Nintendo DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, the DSi XL. What are the main differences? Well, we'll start with the DSi XL. DSi XL, bigger screen. We'll just say that's the main difference with that. DSi, you're going to look at a little bit bigger screen. Wi-Fi was upgraded. With something like this, cameras were added. Those are the main differences. DSi Lite, or DS Lite, just a little bit lighter version compared to the regular DS. A better screen, gave you options for brightness at that point compared to the regular DS, which was just backlight. Backlight in the sense of, you just push this button here and the light comes on. That's all it would do. So with something like that, it was, so then it kind of gives you an idea of like what you're looking for at this point. Now, display with each model got increasingly larger, not by much, but still increasingly larger. So with something like this, I would say I wouldn't even take into consideration, unless you're really strapped for cash, the DS. So we'll just get rid of that at that point. So now you're looking at between the DS Lite, the DSi, and the DS XL. Probably the DSi XL is going to be a little bit too big for some people, and you really don't want something that big, so we'll just throw that out of the mix as well. So now you're looking at mainly the DS Lite and the DSi. Main differences with something like this, the biggest difference is going to be the removal of the Game Boy Color, or I'm sorry, Game Boy Advance slot. Now that's where it becomes really important to you. What are you looking for? Do you want the ability to play those games at any point in time? Maybe you'll just go to like thrift stores every once in a while and you go, oh, look at this game, here it is, it's only $1 compared to that same game that's on the Nintendo store for $10. You get that game, and then you can try it out, and if you absolutely hate it, you can get rid of it, you can sell it, you can trade it, do whatever, and then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to, there's no maintenance, no upkeep, no nothing, in a sense of it being stored on the system. You got that space free at that point. I mean, if you don't like it, in regards to buying it on the Nintendo store, yes, you spent $10, but if you want, you can delete it and you can re-download it at any time. But if you don't like the game, you're probably not going to re-download it unless you really just, you tried it, you weren't too excited about it, and then later on you're like, yeah, I'll try it again. I mean, that's the only time I've ever found that actually to be nice. So with something like this, then you're looking at, well, what other options are in there? Now, how important are those options to you? DS Lite does not have it, DSi does, and that's an SD card slot. What does that mean to you, and how do you use it, or what could you use it for? Well, I mean, it depends on your imagination at that point, in the sense of what you can do with it. I mean, because once you start adding slots like this, pretty much there is no limit. But we'll say, in a sense, because you're watching this video, you're not too familiar with it, you're mainly going to use it for game saves. That's pretty much what it's going to be for. Game saves, downloads, and so forth. If you're not going to be downloading any games, where you really don't care, most times the games get saved on the DS card, so there's really not a need for that at all. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Now, with something like this, they did upgrade the Wi-Fi in there, and, well, let's forget the Wi-Fi at this point. Let's go back to the cameras. Do you take pictures? Do you even care about pictures? You have 18 million different devices now that can take pictures. You probably have a phone on you, so maybe pictures aren't important to you. The only other thing I've ever seen that they could possibly use this with is going to be games that have, in a sense, they use the camera. They map it out. I would believe Skylanders would be one of those where, in a sense, that you use the camera for the DS version, and actually it's only for the 3DS, so you don't even have to worry about that at that point. Actually, you know what? I could be wrong. I don't know if it comes out with if it came out with the DS, but let's say it does. That's the only time I've ever seen something where this can actually be used at this point. I mean, they have some other games where you use where they use the camera and it's kind of built in, but I don't personally care for that. Do you? So it's more, once again, what you're interested in. Now going to the Wi-Fi portion. Wi-Fi was upgraded a little bit. It went from 802.11b to, we'll just say wireless B, it went to wireless G. Are you interested in that? It really depends. It really does. I mean, when are you going to see a difference between something like that? Well, when you're downloading games. Hence why, for this SD card, they upgraded to G, because obviously at that point that was going to be something that people are going to use a lot. Other than that, you just connect to do some basic either updates or maybe some downloads, but really not too much. Wireless B is fine. It really is. It's fine to use something like that. Some devices don't even have Wi-Fi built in on there. There's some other stuff with that. Really, I'm not going to get into it because you're probably not even going to ask the question of, in a sense, well, does it come with this or does it come with this, like for the Wi-Fi part. And it's like, at that point, I'm assuming that you probably know more about it, or you've done some more research to understand, well, what else comes with it, or what else can it do at that point. So that's why I'm not really getting into it. Now with this, the internal 256K storage memory, which is pretty much the flash memory on it, which is what runs the system. They upgraded that in the DSi compared to the DS Lite. So with the DS Lite, you were getting 256 kilobytes of flash memory, which is 1/4 of 1 megabyte. With the flash memory on the DSi, you get 256 megabytes of flash memory. So you're looking at 1/4 of 1 megabyte. So let's just say it's 1 megabyte. And now you're getting, instead of 1, you're getting 256. So it's a big difference. But that's not something you can really use. That's for Nintendo. So it's not something in a sense that they're really going to have you use. I mean, in some cases you do use that and everything, but in a sense, flash memory was, or NAND flash memory is what it's called. That type of memory was designed for the system itself and what runs on it. So let's say, for example, you wanted to, when you power off the system and then you power it back on, you wonder how all that stuff's still on there. That's the NAND flash memory at work. So then at that point, those are really the main differences. They did upgrade the RAM on it. You got 4 megs on the DS Lite version. You get 16 on the DSi and so forth. Not really that much of a difference. I mean, to me. So that could be a big difference to you. But I mean, at this point, I'm just assuming that if I was personally buying this, would that make that much of a difference? Not at all. Not at all in the least. The Game Boy slot thing does make a difference to me. The processor was upgraded on the DSi compared to the DS Lite. How much? Well, the DS Lite had 67 megahertz processor. This one has 133 megahertz processor for the DSi. Now that's double the speed, but the thing is, with something like that, you're not going to see a difference unless the game demands it or the apps demand it. And really, they're for the apps. They're not for the games. Why? Because the games, when it says DS on there and it's going to work with the DS, it's going to work with all of the DSs. So think of the slowest DS, that's what it's going to work with. So pretty much right off the bat, you can have, this could be the newest DS out there, and it could be the greatest thing ever, and it could run at like 9 million megahertz. But because the game that's being designed for it, because it plays those games, the game that's being designed for a regular DS, it's got to work at that speed. Otherwise, they can't advertise it that it's going to work that way. So it's only going to be able to work at the 67 megahertz. So right off the bat, that means absolutely nothing to you if you're comparing it to, oh well, I got a higher end processor in there, so it can do more with the games. No, it can't. It's mainly for the apps that are going to be on there, and probably the camera and the Wi-Fi if you want to use them simultaneously. And like I said, I don't really use this, so I don't know if that's something that they've enabled where you can use it simultaneously. You would think so, but a lot of companies will actually nix that idea because it requires too much money invested in programming and so forth. I don't think Nintendo would be a company that would do that, but you never know. So that's pretty much it. These are some just basic observations that I'm making just from looking at it. Obviously, I can be wrong on stuff. Let me know. I mean, if you know something for a fact, and post it there, but post a source to it as well. Post some type of credit and everything to it, so that way, like, I know where to look where you're getting this info. Don't just be like, oh, I know this works for a fact, and then just leave it there. So, but thanks again, guys. Thanks again for watching and subscribing. If there's anything else that you're looking for, I mean, I can only review stuff that I have, so I fortunately have this. I'd be more than willing to review that for you. So, thanks again for watching, and have a good one.